José Mujica, the humble president who redefined leadership, a president like no other. In the history of political leadership, few figures have embodied humility and integrity as José Mujica did. Known as the world's poorest president, Mujica's journey, from guerrilla fighter to head of state, was marked by resilience, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to the people of Uruguay. His passing on May 13, 2025, at the age of 89, left behind a legacy unlike any other. A reminder that power does not require wealth, and leadership is best measured by service. Mujica was never interested in accumulating riches or indulging in the grandeur that often accompanies high office. Instead, he believed in a life of simplicity, one that reflected his ideology, that happiness comes not from material possessions, but from appreciating life itself. His philosophy and way of governing challenged the modern obsession with luxury and excess, making him one of the most unique leaders of our time. The rebel who became a leader. Born in 1935 in Montevideo, Uruguay, Mujica grew up in a society struggling with social and economic inequalities. As a young man, he joined the Tupamaros, a leftist guerrilla group fighting against government repression. The movement was inspired by revolutionary ideals, notably the Cuban Revolution, and carried out acts of resistance, assaults, kidnappings, and redistribution of wealth from the elite to the poor. His activism led to multiple arrests, and he spent 14 years in prison, enduring solitary confinement and psychological torture. During these dark years, he hallucinated, held imaginary conversations with ants, and struggled to maintain his sanity. It was not until democracy was restored in Uruguay in 1985 that Mujica was finally released, marking the beginning of a new phase in his life, one driven not by rebellion, but by hope and public service. A presidency built on humility. By the time Mujica became president in 2010, he had already established himself as an unconventional politician. Unlike his predecessors, he did not seek prestige or wealth. He rejected the grand presidential mansion, choosing instead to live on his small farm with his wife, Lucia Topolansky. His only indulgence was his old VW Beetle, a car that became as iconic as the man himself. Mujica's salary as president was $12,000 per month, but he donated 90% of it to charities supporting social welfare, leaving himself with a modest income of around $200, comparable to an average Uruguayan worker. He famously said, "Poor is not the one who has little, but the one who needs too much." During his presidency, Mujica introduced progressive reforms that transformed Uruguay's social landscape. He legalized same-sex marriage and marijuana, and implemented policies that strengthened social welfare programs. While some praised his leadership, others debated the long-term impacts of his decisions. Yet, despite criticism, Mujica never wavered in his belief that politicians should serve the people rather than themselves. He openly criticized consumerism, arguing that the relentless pursuit of material wealth was a disease that enslaved modern society. The farewell of a humble leader. After leaving office in 2015, Mujica remained active in public discourse, offering his wisdom to young leaders and continuing to advocate for a life of simplicity. But as the years passed, his health began to decline. Diagnosed with esophageal cancer, he spent his last days at his beloved farm, surrounded by his wife, close friends, and the land he had cherished throughout his life. On May 13, 2025, Uruguay mourned his passing. President Yamandu Orsi led the tributes, stating, "Mujica loved his people deeply. He was not just a president, he was a teacher of life." Citizens across Uruguay gathered to honor the man who had lived and governed without excess. Beyond Uruguay, global leaders recognized Mujica's impact. His philosophy had inspired many, urging politicians around the world to rethink the relationship between power and privilege. A legacy that lives on. Mujica's story remains a lesson for future generations, a reminder that leadership is not about wealth or status, but about service, humility, and integrity. His rejection of materialism and his deep love for humanity continue to resonate with people across the world. His words echo through history. Do not tremble before death. Accept it like the creatures of the forest. Even in death, José Mujica's spirit endures, a guiding light for all those who believe that happiness is not measured by what one owns, but by how one lives.